Okay, a number of people have asked me my opinion on the Andrew Porter tackle against John Klein in the Munster-Leinster match when compared with the match the previous week between Ireland and England where Bundee got a red card. So I thought we'd have a review of what exactly the two circumstances were. So first of all, let's have a quick look at the decision-making framework for high tackles from World Rugby, and notice that this line, the red line here, says that this guideline has been superseded by the head contact process announced in March 2021. So that's March of this year. So this is just before the matches between Ireland and Munster and Leinster. So we'll skip all these bits up here. This is not really important. But what is important is this tree here that talks about the type of contact, and it goes into both shoulder charge and high tackle. Well, let's just look at shoulder charge for the moment. So shoulder charge specifically, is there head or neck contact? No, there isn't. Is it a degree of if the degree of danger is low, it's just a penalty. If it's high, it's yellow. See mitigating factors. We'll discuss that in a minute. Is there head or neck contact? Yes, there is. Then it's a red card. See mitigating factors. Now, mitigating factors on a red card can bring it down to a yellow. Mitigating factors on a yellow card would bring it down to a penalty. But it's rare that you would see enough mitigating factors that would bring a red card just down to a penalty. If there's that kind of damage been done, then generally it would stay there. High tackle again, then, so the high tackle, okay, let's consider that it's not an intentional shoulder charge, but it's a high tackle. Is the contact with the shoulder or the head? Is there a degree of danger is high? Then it's a red card. Low, it's a yellow card. Mitigating factors. Is it with the arm on a head or neck? Then yes. Is there a degree of danger? It's high. Then it's a red card. If it's low, it's yellow. See the mitigating factor. And if the contact between the arm and the head or neck is no, then it's just a penalty. So in this context here, we're not really looking at a shoulder charge. We're looking specifically at the contact of the shoulder or head on the opposition player's head. Okay, we're looking at the degree of danger. You'll notice here that the shoulder or head on head doesn't have an option for going for just a penalty. It's either red card or yellow. The mitigating factors. Mitigating factors are, is there a list here? Right, so there's a few options there. So mitigating factors, the tackler makes a definite attempt to change height. The ball carrier suddenly drops in height. The tackler is unsighted prior to contact. Reactionary tackle, immediate release. Head contact is indirect. Starts elsewhere in the body and moves up. Okay, so they are the mitigating factors. Must be clear and obvious. Okay, so let's review. This is Bundee Aki's tackle on Mako Vunipola. This is a key here in the middle. You see my cursor. He's 12, and we watch him throughout. So he steps laterally out of the ruck, and to me, he makes a foot stop and change before he enters into contact with Mako Vunipola. Look at Aki's attitude here as well. Aki is understandably concerned about the fact that Vunipola's gone down like a sack of spuds. And I think he's pretty sure here himself that he's made contact and he's caused damage and that he's looking at some kind of sanction. We're going to skip ahead. We have got the video review. Okay, so there you see the shoulder into Vunipola's head. We'll see it more specifically from behind. And we're just going to step forward here, frame by frame. So there's Aki planting his foot to change direction. He's got eyes on the player, so we don't have that mitigating factor. The ball carrier hasn't suddenly dropped in height. The tackler has not made a definite attempt to change height. One would argue that the speed at which they're going means that he doesn't have time to do that. But still, this is the nature of Ireland and a lot of other teams play to create a choke tackle which holds the player up in a maul so they win possession. So we'll just keep going forward here. Typically the video decides to break up right here, and there we can see the contact on the head. I'm just bring it back a bit and we'll play it properly. It's already in slow motion, so we'll see. There's the contact, shoulder to the head. Based on our framework, that is a minimum yellow. And there's no mitigating factors. So to review the mitigating factors, the tackler makes a definite attempt to change height. in an effort to avoid the ball carrier's head. He hasn't done that. Ball carrier suddenly drops in height. He hasn't done that. Tackler is unsighted prior to contact. You can see here Aki has eyes on the player. Reactionary tackle, immediate release. In other words, that he has he's just reacted instinctively to the fact where the player is, but that's not the case because he's got time here. You can see him come towards. And a head contact is indirect. So it starts somewhere else in the body and slips up. That's not the case. This is very clearly immediately contact directly with the shoulder to the head. And based on the we can hear the referee discuss it now.
From what I saw on the big screen, I have a direct contact with the shoulder to the head with force. I don't see any clear deep in the high by the number 8 from England. Suddenly deep in the high, I don't see that. I don't perceive that.
We'll skip forward here to where he actually talks to Johnny Sexton.
No, can I explain it, please? Call Bundee. I will explain it. For us, there is no mitigation. As the player, there is no suddenly drop in a high. He decided to target him high with direct contact shoulder to the head. So really dangerous, high speed. So that's a red card.
Okay. So in that instance there, Matthew Rayner, the referee, has done exactly what is required of him by the framework from the World Rugby. See, I think actually we see it again here. There's another angle that's actually slightly better. There's no question there that the shoulders make contact with the head. There's no mitigating factors. It's a red card. It's a red all day. That's the nature of the way the situation goes. Okay, now if we skip ahead to this is the same 1 week later, we have Andrew Porter makes a tackle on John Klein. This is Andrew Porter up here in the Munster-Leinster final the week after in the Pro 14. Mike Adamson, the referee, and we will also have a listen to what he says. We'll just turn it down for a minute while it plays out. So we'll play it at normal speed. Ball out. John Klein takes the ball forward. That's fair enough. And he's tackled by Conan first and then Porter. Now, I want you to look at the attitude of Porter here, especially when he was marching around and high-fiving with Devon Toner and then with Rhys Ruddock for his excellent job tackling the player. We'll see it here. Conan first, then Porter. And according to Mike Adamson, it's a knock-on. It's a forward pass, actually, from to Klein, which is fair enough, but it's the wrong decision. And we'll have a look at why. So the TMO, Joy Neville here, is going to have a look at this from a number of different angles. So not only is Porter not the first tackler, he's the second tackler. Conan first, then he's an assistant tackler. So he has to release once he goes down. But there's very little effort on his part to wrap his left arm. He's come in directly with contact, his left shoulder into Klein's face. And for me, there are no mitigating factors. The tackler hasn't changed his height. The ball carrier doesn't change his height. We're just going to pause this here. Actually, bring it back just a little bit because I want to hear what Mike Adamson has to say on this matter here.
Everything under the microscope, of course, particularly on the big occasion.
Defender standing passive, and you've run into them.
Well, there you see they have had a look at it. And by they, I mean Joy Neville, who is the television match official.
Okay,
for the final
offensive. The defender is passive, and you've run into him. Now, I don't think that's the right call because, by comparison to the previous example with Bundee Aki, realistically, it's the same intent. The same thing has happened. Let's have a quick look again, as I was saying, about the mitigating factor. Tackler makes a definite attempt to change height. He hasn't done that. In fact, Porter is the assistant tackler, so he has plenty of time to see that. He has plenty of time to actually let Conan just make the tackle and to not get involved in the tackle at all. He doesn't. He goes for it. The ball carrier suddenly drops in height. Not a factor. Tackler is unsighted prior to contact. You can clearly see back here that Porter has eyes on him at all times. He sees the pass going to Klein. It's a forward pass. He sees there's no problem at all. Reactionary tackle, which is it's something he can't get out of. That's not the case. He's lined it up, and the head contact is indirect. Starts elsewhere. It doesn't do that. So this is a red card, and this has not been applied by the referees as per the World Rugby framework. I would imagine that there will be words had with the referees in relation to this, because the standards should be applied the same across the board. But it hasn't been done. This is editing Tady here. Just a couple of things I didn't mention. First of all, would Porter's tackle have made a difference on the match? I don't think so. Leinster outplayed Munster completely, and I'm not saying it to bring up a grievance between the Leinster and Munster performances. Leinster far outplayed Munster and deserved their win, so that's not the case. Second thing is that I'm not having a go at the referees. Joy Neville is actually somebody I know personally, and I thought Mike Adamson, who was a referee who I don't rate particularly highly, I thought he actually had a very good game other than that particular instance. So I think what it comes down to, when I criticise that, I just think that what it is that there is quite clear guidelines from World Rugby, and it's how those guidelines have been applied by the different referees. We very regularly make the point that the rules of rugby, they're not rules, they're laws, and the laws are open to interpretation of the referee. But there are times when you have to ask the question around how are those laws being applied, and why, when the framework is so strict and so clearly delineated and the mitigating factors are so clearly outlined, why is a decision like that not being applied? And that's where the frustration as a spectator comes from. It's where the frustration as a player comes from, and it's where the frustration as a fellow referee comes from, because as a referee trainer, we train referees to take these aspects into account. And when they see those conditions not being applied at international level, it makes it very difficult for them to understand why they should do the same at local level. So, yeah, that's just want to add that in there. So, in my opinion, as a referee, as someone that is in charge of the safety of the players on the pitch, that's a job poorly done, and that could have been a lot worse. And we're kind of lucky. The difference being, I suppose, is that Klein actually gets up out of it straight away, whereas in Vunipola, Aki knows immediately that he's caused damage and is quite concerned about Vunipola's well-being. So that's my tuppence worth.